You graduated from IIT Bombay and began in heat treatment at Bharatiyas. What did that first role teach you that still holds true 50 years later?
Yeah, so that first role taught me something that no textbook in IIT could ever do. That is, shop floor is the living classroom.
So in those early years, what was your toughest challenge working at Sona Steering?
The biggest challenge was this, that we were wanting to become world class with third world constraints and no playbook.
When your story is told 30 years from now, what part do you hope defines your legacy?
I think if somebody says that I changed myself because of him, I think I could have achieved something.
So what is one myth about building a long-term manufacturing company that young founders must stop believing in?
I think one myth is that technology is the silver bullet. That you have a good technology, you can do very well. Technology is only a tool, only an enabler. You need the resilience, competencies of the people. So you need to develop people in such a way that the technology can be used.
Everyone wants scale. You talk about soul. So how can modern companies scale without losing purpose?
Scale without soul is hollow, and soul without scale is irrelevant.
Namaste. The guest for this episode is Mr. Kiran Deshmukh. Ex-IITian, started from manufacturing. He became the executive vice chairman of the company, Indo-Japanese tech company, and he's done some outstanding work in people involvement, linking with the soul of the organization and contributing to the well-being of the customer and the society. So first of all, Kiran, thank you very much for agreeing to my request. We started this project, we call it History of India's Quality Renaissance, since 1980. Dr. Krishnamurthy was after me for a long time to write a book. He offered to co-write. He offered to put a writer. Somehow I don't have the inclination. I think I don't have the time, but it's more so the inclination than the time. And then Professor Kume, Professor Kano, Venu Srinivasan, everybody kept talking. So ultimately I decided, let's start. And I was talking to my son and he says, who reads the book these days? In India particularly, the book reading habit is, people buy and put it on the shelf. And also the attention span is very small. So why don't you write, post something on LinkedIn, do podcasts, you start talking about the history as you see it. And once you've done, we'll get somebody to collate it and write a book. So I said, if I have to do it, I must have people who have actually been part of this history to talk for themselves. Not what I say. You need an opinion of various people who have done this kind of work. So that's how I started reaching out to some of the people. And obviously Ram and you were first on the list, and then Arun Bharat Ram came today. And we have a list of people who are in the first National Committee on Quality. So I've requested to Mr. Suresh Krishna whether he would be willing to share, Mr. Subaya. So they must be in their 90s now. Anyway, if those who are willing will share, and then we'll carry on with the younger, new generation that is coming. So that's the intent, and I deeply appreciate your contribution for that.
Always pleasure talking to you. Always pleasure contributing in whatever little way I can, what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's little bit that adds up to the whole. Okay, let me have a short introduction so that people are familiar with what you've done. Known you for over 30 years. I don't remember exactly when we met, but from ISQ time regularly. But even before that, to CII, we used to meet. So maybe 40 years ago we started. But since 30 years of ISQ, we've been more closely associated. And I've seen you grow and contribute to society. You reached the position of Deputy Managing Director of Sona Koyo Steering Systems, a Japanese collaboration, and that was a great achievement by itself. And after the sudden passing away of Surendra Kapoor, you got back into the position as Executive Vice Chairman. Your illustrious career up to retirement, then post-retirement, one inning, second retirement, another innings, fabulous. And then obviously you make so much contribution that people keep wanting you back again and again. So I also found during the time when we were trying to, prepare your CV for the ANQ award, that you hardly ever talk about yourself. If you want to get to know Kiran, you have to talk to others who know Kiran. Totally unassuming, not looking for recognition, not looking for laurels. Yes, I think that's a great character which aligns with the TQM philosophy. So that's great. And you openly share your knowledge. We've also worked at ANQ and then subsequently at GQFW. So maybe these three associations brought us even closer together to know each other. And you've been recognized by the ANQ Ishikawa Kano Award, ISQ Ashoka Award, and of course there are many more. But you're not the one who seeks it. We have to push you to receive these awards. So let me start the process of interview to understand your thinking. You graduated from IIT Bombay and began in heat treatment at Bharat Gas. What did that first role teach you that still holds true 50 years later?
Yeah, so that first role taught me something that no textbook in IIT could ever do. That is, shop floor is the living classroom. Especially in heat treatment, things that are happening invisibly. Microstructures change, properties evolve, the parts are inside the furnace. And you don't know what's happening inside, but you got to deliver consistency. So heat treatment actually shows you that how to learn on the shop floor. This is something which is not available in any textbook. This is not available in any journal. You have to live to learn that. So the first lesson I learned was this, that you need to observe keenly. You need to make sense of the patterns. And at the same time, you need to be humble. It also taught me about a very important thing which stayed all along, which is that I came from a top degree from top engineering college. But very quickly I learned that the real excellence in the real world on the shop floor is because of people. And people who have honed those skills very quietly over decades. So when a furnace operator made some changes on the furnace to adjust something, the kind of wisdom that he had was a lot more than I did. So it instilled in me that lifelong respect for the frontline operator. Mm-hmm. So way back, it's 50 years ago now, but the lesson that I learned and that stayed with me all along is that I always consider the frontline operator. Later on, as a part of TPM, I learned that value added, non-value added, value added is done by the operator. So you need to give him that importance. All that theory I learned later. But the real realization was at that time in my first job.
And that is remarkable. Not many people, not many organizations think that workmen can contribute. That's a challenge even today with many organizations. I'm glad you learned that lesson, but many people go through the same process without learning it. Then you spent decades in Bharat Gears and subsequently Sona Koyo in various positions, various levels until you reached the top. How did that experience give you the competence to manage at the senior most level so well at the Sona Koyo Steering Systems?
Well, those years shaped everything for me. Right from the way I would approach problem solving, to the way I would build teams. When you have spent years on the shop floor, understanding the smell of the coolant or sound from a misaligned bearing or an anxiety of hitting a cycle time, you realize that shop floor is not operations, it's the heart of the company. Because that's where everything happens. And therefore, even when I became executive vice chairman, I used to every day visit shop, 1 hour shop visit every day. And that was not formality, it was necessity. But that's where you actually get to know how the company is functioning, how you really get the pulse of the company over there, because the heart is there. This also changed my approach for making changes. You can't drive transformations from air-conditioned conference room. You require credibility. And that credibility comes from having been in the trenches. So when the operator understands or realizes that you understand his problems, you understand his constraints, not just his targets, then he becomes your ally. And the improvement becomes very, very easy. So spending those roughly 10, 12 years on the shop floor at the supervisory level or deputy manager level were extremely important in shaping how I worked.
I'm surprised actually from IIT Kanpur you joined the shop floor. Most people passing out from IITs never worked on the shop floor. So what was difference between you and what most others do?
Yeah, so not IIT Kanpur, IIT Bombay.
That's IIT Bombay, sorry.
But everybody in my class went to US.
Everyone.
Everyone. Because that time, this was 1975, and there was nothing in India. I mean, the job opportunities were very scarce. And so everybody wanted to go to US. And of course, for me, it was the family constraint, etc., because of which I couldn't go. So I said that let me try maybe after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, maybe going to US or doing MBA or something like that. And this job with Bharat Gears was one that I got through the campus placement. And I said, let me try it. And those 3 years which I had planned for myself, how they passed, I couldn't realize. So I actually got so much involved. And like I said before, there was so much learning from what I was seeing around that I thought that I think the management schools or universities are not going to give you what you're getting here. So I dropped the idea of doing anything and stayed there. You're right. Not many, even today, I mean, more so today because IITians want to have a IT job on an air-conditioned office. No, nobody wants to go to manufacturing. Definitely not in heat treatment where the ambience is so hot.
Manufacturing is no-go. Either MBA, USA, and then jobs in marketing, in IT, in finance. What do you think they miss out by not going to industry?
Well, you go to MBA, you learn things which are Western. Where most of the management schools use the books used and case studies used in American universities. A lot of things is not relevant to us. And I mean, of course, there are so many MBAs, BTechs, MBAs, etc., who have done exceedingly well. I am not against that. But what they miss really is that pulse. That pulse you can get only in spending time in manufacturing on the shop floor. So that is something you can't get in any school or any college.
In those early years, what was your toughest challenge working in Sona Steering? since 1987.
So I joined Sona Steering in 1986, 87. And first time I went to Japan to see the plant. It was seeing is believing. I mean, I had read books about Japanese methods, Toyota production system, lean and flow management, etc., etc. I thought it is all theoretical. But when I saw there, I was zapped. I was in Bharat Gas for 11 years, and there we had all batch processing because it's all coming from German or US manufacturing techniques. So there was a turning cell, there was a gear cutting cell, there was heat treatment, there was a grinding, there was a finishing, and you were pushing material from here to there in batches. So when we saw what we saw there in Japan, we said to ourselves that we must create a company which is like these. But the biggest challenge was this, that we were wanting to become world class with third world constraints and no playbook. Unfortunately, Koyo, our Japanese partners, they had a very bad experience prior to joining hands with us. They had a bearing company in Hyderabad with a state government, Andhra Pradesh state government, and that company never did any business or they didn't get any royalty, etc. So they had a very bad experience with India. Moreover, India was not on the radar of those Japanese companies at that time. This is 86, 87. I mean, in that sense, we must appreciate Mr. Osamu Suzuki that he really took that bold step at that time. So we had no support from Koyo initially. First 3-4 years, we had no support. They said, you have collaboration, you take drawings, you take documents and do whatever you want. So we were trying to replicate what we saw there. But when you replicate what you see, you can't get the soul. You can only get the substance. So that was the biggest challenge. How do you actually bring that soul in? And later, when we embraced TQM and TPM and TPS, etc., thanks to many things which happened in the life of Sona Koyo, when we actually got the Deming Award, that's the time I felt that yes, now we have become what we wanted to. So initial years, 4 or 5 years in Sona, this was the challenge.
Over a period of time, did Koyo approach change to it?
Yeah, so we just 2 years into the collaboration, Dr. Kapoor and I went back to Japan with a check for the royalty. And they were shocked to see that there is a company who is paying us for what we have not done. Because they had just given the documents, do whatever you want to do. We had, by the way, myself, Mr. T.K. Pal, Mr. Budhiraja, my colleagues, we would go to Japan. We developed very close relationship with the engineers and managers at the middle level. And they become very good friends. And that's how we could slowly, get the information from them. So while top management was not so keen initially, we did get the information.
Okay.
But once we gave that check for the royalty, and then that money kept on coming to them, and fortunately, we were set up to supply to Maruti at that time. And as you know, Maruti grew with leaps and bounds. Every year they were growing at 100% growth rate those years. So we also grew. We grew not only because Maruti grew, but Maruti also asked us to increase our product portfolio. Initially, we were only supplying steering columns. They asked us to make steering gears. Then they asked us to make axles and so on and so forth, propeller shafts. So Maruti was growing. Our product portfolio kept on growing. So we grew. And with that growth, Koyo realized that this is much different experience that we have with the past company. So that's when they changed.
You stayed with Sona Koyo for a long time, almost 30 years. In this era where everybody keeps moving from one job to another, what made you stay with Sona Koyo?
Janak, I didn't have to look for challenges outside. All these 30 years, Sona was reinventing and I was reinventing.
Okay.
This 30 years, I had a chance to build a company from Greenfield, a Greenfield company. I had a chance to lead the company for Deming Award. I had a chance to mentor people through VLFM program. I had a chance to do so many things. So I never had to look out. Inside itself, it was like changing a job. So I very often say, a lot of people ask me, how did you stay there for 30 years?
Mhm.
And my answer is this, that I didn't stay for 30 years. I stayed for one exciting year, 30 times over.
Okay. That's a good way to put it. You implemented variety of methods like TPM, TQM, TPM at Sona Koyo long before it became the norm in India. So what motivated you to do this? And what challenges you faced while implementing these things? Because not many companies were doing it at that point of time.
See, Daniel Kahneman has famously said that is the luck and your work or your initiative. Both have to be there. Just initiative is not good enough. Just luck is not good enough. We were lucky. Of course, we did what we did. But I think a large portion of credit goes to our luck.
To
our luck.
Okay.
So, as I said, when Koyo saw that we were doing well, Koyo's president visited India for the first time and he saw Sona. And when he saw Sona, he was shocked to see what we were doing. It was a Japanese company. It was in 1989, 1990. So he invested in Sona at that time, small amount. And he said, why don't we buy from you?
Mhm.
So one component which goes into steering, we were supposed to be making for them, export back to Japan. The one condition they gave is you can be our supplier only if you follow Toyota production system. They used to call it Koyo production system. So he said, fine, but we don't know what is Koyo production system, how to do it. He said, don't worry, we will send a person. So there is this person called M. Tanaka Sensei, who started coming to India. And I was fortunate because he himself had learned directly from Ono-san. Because years ago in 70s, when Koyo was in big trouble, there were strikes going on in Koyo and Toyota was not getting supplies from Koyo being their supplier. Toyota said that we will improve you. And they sent a team to Koyo to teach Toyota production system.
Mhm.
And Mr. Tanaka was the leader of the team which was formed in Koyo to learn from the team which came from Toyota. And the team from Toyota was headed by none other than Mr. Taiichi Ono. So I learned Toyota production system from a direct disciple of Ono-san.
Oh, he's your grandfather,
Yeah.
a mentor.
Yeah. So very fortunate. So we learned Toyota production system. Then later on, thanks to Dr. Kumar of Maruti, he formed this cluster. I mean, everybody knows about this cluster of some 11 companies who would receive teaching from Mr. Tsuda, who had helped Sundaram Clayton receive their first Deming in India. So we became part of that cluster and we learned from him. And then we also then engaged JIPM or TPM. So all these things happened almost simultaneously. We started with Toyota production system and then TPM and then TQM. So TPS taught us about the flow. from batch processing to single piece processing, from push to pull. TPM made our machines reliable, safe, available. But what actually changed Sona was TQM, because that changed the mind of people. That changed the thought process of people. People started not just doing quality, but being quality. So that was a major change that happened in Sona at that time. And the Deming journey was, of course, it was wonderful journey. We learned so many things and we got so many benefits out of it. So, yeah, all these three things happening purely because of luck, because Koyo presidents mandated us to follow Koyo production system or Toyota production system. That was in 1990, 1990 or 1991. Before anybody in India knew about, people may be knowing about Toyota production system, but I think we were the first company in that sense to follow that.
How much time it took you to reach a stage of sustainability through these three initiatives?
Toyota production system was very quick. Mr. Tanaka used to come every third month and he would stay for 3 weeks. And he would obviously spend time on the shop floor and actually taught Toyota production system. And there were deadlines for starting the exports. So I think within just about 1.5 years, we were there as far as implementation of Toyota production system. We changed our lines, single piece processing, multi-skilling and all that happened in 1.5 years. TQM took some time because it was a slow process, especially because of the approach that was there of the cluster. And in cluster, some companies were ahead, some companies were not so ahead. So Professor Sudha had to manage all that. So it took little time, but it was, I think about 3 years later, he said that he wanted to dismantle the cluster. And we were actually shocked because we were all doing very nice with everybody, because every time he would come every 6 months. And he would visit all the 11 companies, 1 day each. And we would go to those 11 companies with him. And 12th day, there would be a common feedback. And these companies were in different field, We were in steering. There was somebody making brakes, somebody making CV joints, somebody making rubber parts, etc. But what he would point out as a problem and the solution, he obviously wouldn't give solution, but he would ask us, all of us, to think about how to find solution. They were very much in our company also, although it was pointed out in some other company which was making some completely different product. Mm-hmm. So through this 11 company visit, we had many more opportunities to learn than if he were to just visit our company.
Okay.
But it was time consuming at the same time. And after 3 years when he dismantled, he said, I will, because some companies have gone ahead, some companies have not gone ahead, and now we are getting into strategic areas where people may not want to disclose things, R&D, etc. So I will, based on your interest, I will visit individual company.
Okay.
And then he started coming to us. It was more frequent visits. Okay. But the whole thing took about, we started with Professor Sudha in 1998, right, when Sundaram Clayton got that Deming. And we got Deming in 2003. So it was 5 years.
Okay.
Talking about sustenance, there is an interesting story, because like every examination, after examination is over, you become relaxed. That happens with everybody. You give a 10th exam and you have worked very hard day and night. The moment the exam is over, then you take a sigh of relief. Now I want to relax. Same thing happens with Deming. There is, I think, a natural tendency of everybody that after Deming, people become a little bit relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
and your company comes on the radar of other companies. Earlier, very little people knew about Sona at that time. But after we got a Deming, a lot of companies from automotive, non-automotive came to know about us.
Yeah.
And that followed attrition. Because anybody can just take names of
That is true.
Kaizen and daily management and things like
Yes.
that and can get the job. So those were challenges. And we had to do something extra to overcome those challenges for sustenance.
What is the key resistance you found in this implementation of this? Internally, it could be anything specific, it could be the middle management, senior management, operatives.
So Janak, we are doing extremely well. From 86, 87 when we started production till 2003, Maruti was doing extremely well. There was no competition to Maruti. It all opened up. Of course, it opened up in 90s, but by the time competition came, companies like Hyundai and Ford, etc., came and posed some serious competition to Maruti. A lot of time had passed. So Maruti was in very strong footing. And as a supplier to Maruti, we were also in very strong footing. We were doing extremely well. We are growing with leaps and bounds. We are making a lot of profit. Initially, the formula was cost plus with Maruti. So why should we change was the biggest question to answer. From top to bottom, everybody. We are doing well. Why should we change? Why should we do this? So those days, there were no PowerPoints, there were no computers, and there were no, laptops or no equipment to present, right? So we had one paper projector, and I prepared a PowerPoint kind of presentation on paper. And Dr. Kapoor would give that presentation to people in a group of 20, 25. And he covered entire organization. And he explained why we should change. And the theme was this, that so far we were in a greenhouse when we as a plant were protected from outside. But that greenhouse is no more there. And in future, there is no protection coming from anywhere. There can be wind, there can be rain, there can be Andhi, Tufan and things like that. And if we have to protect, we have to do something. And that message actually made a big difference. Especially because it was in a small group like 20 people and being made by somebody like Dr. Kapoor himself. So, yeah, the resistance was there all across, but that's how we overcame it.
So what influence Sona Koyo Steering System had on you as an executive and as a human being?
You see, we had three value statements: respect to individual, service to customer, and excellence in the pursuit of our goals. And these were not just words, but those values were something that we were living by. So every decision we would take would be checked against this framework. That whatever we were doing, are we following, are we in line with these three values or not? And that made life very easy, because you didn't have to go every time up to get an approval saying that we are taking this decision, is it okay or not? So we actually empowered all the entire organization through embedding these values in the organization. And it also shaped me. Very rarely your personal purpose and organizational objectives are so well aligned.
Getting the Deming Prize in 2003 What internal shift was most critical to earning it, and what were the benefits?
As I said before, most critical change that was required was change of mindset, people. And what happened as a result of implementation of whatever we learned from Professor Sudha, whether it is daily management or exactness or policy management, uh, everything that we would do, every quality activity would be linked with strategic clarity.
Mhm.
So there was a link with strategy. So strategy got that focus. And everybody then started looking at how we can do things which are aligned to what as an organization we want to do.
Mhm.
So that alignment was the biggest advantage or biggest benefit of Deming. And it was all structured through the X chart and daily management charts, managing points, checking points, etc., etc. But there were problems. Firstly, this is Japanese gimmick. This is extra work. These are the kind of comments would come from people. Uh, what we did was we started an activity which is unique at that time called group Kaizen activity. It was unique because it is not like quality circles. Quality circles are, as you know, uh, voluntary, right?
Mhm.
This was mandatory. So everyone in the company, from top to bottom, was
Right.
part of some group.
Okay.
And every Wednesday, they had to meet for 30 minutes. So A shift people on Wednesday will leave 15 minutes late. B shift people would come 15 minutes early. An entire organization would be there on Wednesday during that shift change time. And they would take a problem that concerns them and they would solve applying the problem solving. So we created a structure of involvement by mandating. And that was a changing point. That was a tipping point in converting people towards Deming journey.
You also, I find in many companies, manufacturing part is relatively easier. But getting the staff functions like finance, QA, supply chain involved, marketing, is sometimes quite tough. So, how did you make that happen? And what were the key learnings from there?
Yeah, so I think one of the departments which had a biggest problem in adopting TQM was HR. Earlier they were transactional, they were reactive. So they would fill the vacancies, they will make the reports, etc. So we embedded problem solving in HR through this group Kaizen activity. So they started applying 7QC tools, etc., for things like attrition, things like effectiveness of training, even absenteeism. So now they started uh, applying the tools using data and not gut
Okay.
to make decisions. And that's what changed. And they became actually from administrative department to architect of capability.
Okay.
So they became responsible for building capability. Because my focus all along was that people should not just know what and how, but they should know why. That why comes only through capability. So that was the major job given to HR. And once that happened, that also inspired other departments like administration.
Mhm.
They started using the standards for their business processes.
Mhm.
Marketing started using voice of customer systematically.
Okay.
So quality became a language of all departments and not just the quality department.
Okay. That's an excellent achievement. So after retirement, you established the Sona Skill Development Center as its managing director. What made you take up this assignment or this whole activity on the whole? Something that was driven. It's so important that for the company that you want to do it as a full-time activity.
Yeah, so I realized that we had a workforce very sincere, hardworking. They would do exactly as per the standards. But what was lacking was they didn't know why.
Okay.
And it was important. It is important for even frontline operators to know why. And that's when they can come out with Kaizen ideas. So, to bridge that gap, we decided to start this skill development center. Not just for operators, but also middle managers, frontline supervisors. The idea was to make managers coaches, frontline workers, problem solvers. And we created a structured program to teach people hands-on. So we had 3 principles in this class, in this Sona Skill Development Center, which is, I think, unique. Number 1, discipline. So if the class has to start at 2 o'clock, everybody must be inside 5 minutes before 2. Anybody is not there, he's taken off. And he will be thrown out from that training course.
Okay.
The way people sit in the classroom, we have this principle of half back. So you don't sit like this, you sit like this, keeping. Because when you visit a customer and you want to listen to him, you want to show your eagerness to learn from him. And you can't be asking customer, what are the problems? So those kind of behavioral changes we tried to implement, not just theoretical things.
I see.
The other thing was we had 70% rule of 70-30. So 30% theory, 70% practice. So in that training center, we created dummy machines, like a full line of machines, which will actually not do anything, but which will have loading, unloading.
Okay.
And so you can actually do the takt time calculations and you can do the standardized work, and people can actually run that machine, that line by loading, unloading, and things like that, and do improvements on that. So those kind of things were done there. And the third principle that we used was so-called snowball effect, as opposed to rainfall. When it rains, all the water goes to the ground and it flows out. But a snowball starts very small, and as it rolls down the mountain, it gathers small particles of snow. And by the time it comes down, it is huge piece, which has got so much impact. So in our training style, we wouldn't teach everything together. So Janak, 7 QC tools. Our program was 7 days. 1 day, 1 tool.
1 day, 1 tool.
Yes. First 2 hours, teach them. Also not complete. If you take, let's say, fishbone diagram, you don't tell everything. You just tell little bit and ask them to make a fishbone diagram.
Okay.
Because they don't know enough, they will make mistakes. So point out the mistakes, because when you point out mistake, your understanding is much better. If you do everything perfect, then you don't know. You will not learn anything. So at the end of that 1 day, 8 hours, he will become real expert in fishbone diagram. So every tool, 7 days, 1 day. So those kind of unique programs we built, because the objective was that they should go back and actually implement those, and not just that now they know what are 7 QC tools.
It's a remarkable approach. But 9 out of 10 companies I know, they won't learn QC story in half a day, especially at the senior management level. And so what you did one day for each tool is, it's like a gurukul. You have a guru who's teaching this training center. What did you call it? Learning center?
Sona Skill Development Center.
Skill Development Center.
We also used to do CSR for the group.
Okay.
So we would take underprivileged kids from Jhuggi Jhopadis and give them free training. 3 months. At the end of 3 months, they would be good enough. They would get a ASDC certification, Automotive Skill Development Council certification, so they can get a job. But this 3 months was very exhaustive, 8 hours, 6 days a week program. Again, same rules. They got to come 9 o'clock it starts. They have to be 5 minutes before 9. Any break, they have to be back before the break time ends, and so on and so forth. Because you can teach tools, you can't teach attitude. So this was the attempt to actually enforce some sort of discipline, so it becomes the way of life for them.
How successful were you in this changing attitude?
Well, for the people, Sona Koyo's own people, managers and supervisors and frontline operators, it was very successful. Even today, I get messages from many of my Sona Koyo colleagues saying that they may not be today in Sona Koyo, but they send me a message saying that what they learned from me has been the foundation for their future career. So it was I would say it was quite effective. As regard to CSR activity, where we were doing this for the underprivileged kids, it was 50-50. Because after the program, you join a manufacturing plant. You got a certificate from ASDC, you join a manufacturing plant. And the manufacturing plant, you got to stand 8 hours and work in the shop floor.
Right.
And today, same salary they can get if they become a security guard in the mall. It's a air-conditioned place and very nice job. Today, these gig operator workers, they get much more than a salary of a manufacturing fresh frontline worker. And they don't have to work for full 8 hours, only morning time, lunch time, dinner time.
Right.
So there are too many, just like for engineers, there is competition from IT and ITES for manufacturing. For frontline operators, there is a lot of competition from these service sectors. That's a challenge.
Two issues, two objectives most companies do. How do you build organizational capability and also ensure compliance? So between capability and compliance, which do you think is a more difficult?
Of course, capability. Compliance is visible. You can mandate it, you can audit it, you can enforce it. Capability is invisible. It's in your habits, in the way you behave. And not easy to develop. So capability, of course, capability building is a tough job. When we started initially, compliance focus was on compliance because we had to get the ISO certification, customer approvals, PPAP, etc. Those kind of things. But quickly we realized that this is not enough. I mean, this is necessary, but not sufficient. You actually need to do much more. You need to have capable people who can identify problems, analyze them, and take informed decisions. That can come only through capability building.
So the places Compliance is a big challenge. You have the best of the system, but people don't follow it. How do we address this?
Yeah, so we had a tool. We had an IT tool.
Mhm.
I think it was developed by Deloitte, one of the big fours. And that tool was implemented in the company. So all the compliances in the organizations were captured there, mapped there. And if you do not uh, do certain things as per the requirement of compliance, you will get flagged, and that flag will go up the ladder based on the delays, etc. But that was on the organizational level. But on the shop floor, compliance comes through daily management. And extremely important, most important tool in TQM, I think, is daily management. There are so many other tools, but without daily management, you can't do anything. So unless you have standards in place and they are something which operators can follow and there is no difficulty for them to follow, they will follow. And unless you maintain that, you can't do improvement. Because unless you maintain, you can't do improvement, you can't engage improvement. And unless you do improvement, you can't do breakthroughs.
True.
All threes are required, but standardization through daily management is extremely important.
And then you also get degree of emphasis on problems, solving invisible problems. So what's one example where this thinking saved you from a major failure?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier about Deming. After Deming, we became little lax. Some of the KRIs started going down. Also, earlier, there was a strong Pareto. So it was easy to solve problems. After Deming, the Pareto became flat.
Right.
Because every problem was small, but there were many problems.
Right.
And how do you identify those? So we started a program, a campaign, what we call back to basic, B2B.
Go back to the basics. Right.
After Deming. And every manager, let's say there are 60 managers, every manager was given 1 day in a month as his day. So entire shop floor was divided into as many managers that we had. And every manager was given one area and one date in the month. On that day, if it is a Sunday, he has to take the next Monday. If it is a holiday, he has to take the next day. But 1 day in the month, he has to spend 8 hours on the shop floor in the Ono circle. So on that line, which is assigned to him, there was a Ono circle. He has to stand there and observe, make notes. And we have this process called 5-step discovery process, which Professor Soji Shiba has developed. So there is a method by which you process this language and observational data.
Right.
So this is not numeric data. This is language data of the notes he has made or observations he has made. There is a technique that Professor Shiva has developed to process these language and image data.
Okay.
To sense the symptoms of change, sense the symptoms which are not directly visible.
Okay.
So he very often used to say that, there are 3 levels in data. One is visible, other is invisible, third is unknown. And the example he would give is, you are on the seashore and you see a tail of a fish. So from the tail is visible. But from the tail, you can know that there is a fish below that. Because without fish, there cannot be tail. So that fish who is invisible, you sense it from that tail.
Okay.
So that's not so difficult. But what is difficult is the unknown. What is under that? What is under the seabed, which you cannot see from just normal visual observation. So this 5-step discovery process, or FSDP as he calls, as a structured way, which consists of both logic and intuition, mixture of logic and intuition, through which you can make sense of from visible, make sense of invisible and unknown. So coming back to that, back to basic, we had taught all our managers this 5-step discovery process. So at the end of the month, or not month, I mean every month he will observe. After 3-4 months, he would have enough observations that he can make that FSTP and come out with leverages from the system dynamic diagram which comes out from that process.
Okay.
And those leverages, by applying those, we were able to do. So many examples are there. Huge number of examples are there in Sona, where we were able to reduce rejection substantially. We were able to understand why people were leaving through HR. HR did similar thing with doing exit interviews and recording those exit interviews and those statements being made by the people who are leaving, process that language data and create hypothesis.
Talk something about your role as a Chief Technology Officer after your second retirement, and back as a Chief Technology Officer of Sona Comstar. How this transition happened and what was your primary role there?
Yeah, so when Sona Koyo had ownership of both Japanese and Indian shareholders, including Dr. Kapoor's family. And there was a time we realized that the technology was Japanese. Technology was coming from Japan. So the company was, while we developed many unique products locally here for off-highway and other markets, which we were exporting, but the mainstream products of Sona Koyo, the technology came from Koyo. And because Koyo is a global company, Koyo became JTech in the meanwhile. Because JTech is a global company, they have plants all over the world. So Sona Koyo, or JTech India now it has become, but Sona Koyo at that time couldn't export.
Okay.
So we were limited with Indian market, and we were limited with the Indian market growth. So unless we had technology of our own, it didn't make sense. And therefore, Sanjay Kapoor, in fact, while Dr. Kapoor was alive, these discussions were going on. And there was a transfer of ownership when JTech took the majority ownership from Sanjay Kapoor. And actually, they asked me to continue in Sona Koyo. But I thought it was not appropriate for me to do that, because during the negotiations of the transfer of ownership, I was on this side of the table with Sanjay, and it was not appropriate for me to join them after the severance. Also, I knew that all decisions will come from Japan and there will be very little for you to do here. So I decided to move, and Sanjay also wanted me to move to Sona Comstar. That's how I moved here. It's already established company with established structure, etc. So there are no place for a CEO or heading, etc. So I took the role of CTO, because that was also time when we realized that a new revolution was coming in automotive, which was electric. So electric vehicles were going to be the future, and we need to be ready for that revolution. So we decided many things. We decided to develop differential assemblies for electric vehicles. We decided to acquire Comstar, a motor making company, so that we had capabilities of electric motor. We developed a R&D center in Chennai. We have now about 150 R&D software and hardware engineers there. So all those things were done as a part of my role at CTO to make Sona Comstar company which will be resilient for the new changes taking place in automotive industry. Today, Sona Comstar is one of the leading suppliers of products to electric vehicles.
Okay.
Outside India. Almost 70% of the revenue comes from outside India. which is mostly for electric vehicles.
So, being a chief technology officer here, did it provide you opportunities to do something which you have not done in the past in terms of technology area?
Yeah, there are many things I did. I think because in Sona Comstar, technology was owned by Sona. If you know the history of Sona Comstar, which was earlier Sona BLW, it's still the company's name is Sona BLW Precision Forgings Limited. The company got technology from Mitsubishi Materials, and there was a joint venture with Mitsubishi Materials. There was a German company by the name BLW, Bayerischer Lichtenwerk, who had in, I think, 20s or 40s invented this technology of making gears by precision forging. There is no machining on the teeth. The complete tooth profile is generated by forming. As a result, you get unique properties. You can, because of the flow lines are favorable, the teeth are very strong. You can make any kind of profile. In the normal cut gears, the profile is constrained by profile of the gear that you make is constrained by the kinematics of the machine tool. Here, as long as you can make a die, you can make the same profile on the gear. And because it was precision forged, you could design different kinds of profiles. So that technology was developed in Germany. They had licensed Mitsubishi, and we got the technology from Mitsubishi indirectly from Germany to Japan to India. Later in 2006, 2007, Dr. Kapoor acquired the German company.
Okay.
And that's how he was in Germany most of the time. And he passed away, unfortunately, in Germany while he was steering that German operations. So with acquisition of that company, we became owner of the technology. And later on, Mitsubishi exited from this company, from Sona BLW. It became 100% Indian company at that time. And technology was completely our own. So having your own technology has a huge advantage. Huge advantage. You can do whatever you want to do and develop. You can develop IPs, you can develop new products, you can develop, create value for customers. So yeah, as a CTO, I had that advantage in Sona Comstar, which I didn't have in Sona Steering.
Congratulations, that was a phenomenal achievement. When did you start studying about machine learning, generative AI, and use of these in manufacturing?
Well, while I was CTO of Sona Comstar, I started looking at machine learning because there was a talk going on about AI, machine learning, etc. And I thought I should not be just a witness to this revolution. I should understand what it is. Because as I said before, always my emphasis has been to know why and not just what or how. So I took some online courses and tried to learn this. But as I learned machine learning, I realized that this language of machine learning is no different than what I've been doing before.
I see.
I was doing problem solving using data, analyzing data, and making decisions based on data. When TQM's fundamental principle is data-driven decisions.
Yeah.
Right. So it was no different. The language is not no different. It was actually more powerful dialect of the same grammar that I knew.
Okay.
So I could correlate it very closely. And I developed some of the algorithms for Sona Comstar using machine learning to predict certain things. Predict, for example, case depth in heat treatment. And many other things I did. I also then later on moved on to understanding what is generative AI and how it can impact. I also did an online course on that, and I developed some GPT or generative pre-trained transformer, which does the job of the FSDP that I mentioned, the Professor Shiba's FSDP, which automates that. And actually, as I mentioned earlier, there is logic and intuition in that. And generative AI is able to solve problems both through logic and intuition. So that tool is available to people, general public, and anybody can use that. Whoever knows how to use FSDP can use that tool. It is driven by OpenAI, runs on the ChatGPT platform, and anybody can access that and use it. So it is not just learning, but also trying to apply for betterment of people at large.
Where do you see AI genuinely improving factory systems, and do you think it's happening at various places?
Very much happening. Industry 4.0 is now reality. I started 4.0 in Sona Comstar almost 8 years ago, when it was not a common term.
Okay.
But today it has become common. And it actually helps. I mean, today you can do predictive maintenance because you have IoT devices on the machine. They can sense machine performance, vibrations, and temperature, and noise, etc. from machine much ahead of what human beings can do. And analyzing that huge amount of data, they can predict when the machine will break down much before it actually breaks down. So you can plan preventive maintenance. That's a very, very common application of AI in manufacturing. The other one is visual inspection. You know, we in Sona Comstar make these bevel gears, and because they are forged, it's likely that there could be some dent or some scratch. And we have a battery of people doing visual inspection before the material goes out. And you can't do accurate visual inspection if you have to do it 8 hours. After 3 hours, 4 hours, your eyes will get disturbed, right? So we have applied machine learning for visual inspection. So today, all the gears are checked on a camera, and that there is an algorithm which decides if the gear is okay, not okay. So that's another application which is very common. The third application, of course, is the normal ERP, integrating ERP with the machines in real time. In the earlier, for ERP, at the end of the shift, you would fill up data, what was produced during the shift, how many parts, etc., all the details. Today, you can capture that data in real time and directly feed it to the ERP. So those are common applications, but there are many other applications. I think generative AI is going to come in a big way in manufacturing as well. Only thing is, we have to all keep in mind that it is assistance for us. It is something which will help us. It is not something which can do things on its own. So it is, as I would say, it can be, it cannot do things autonomously. You need to use that wisdom, their wisdom, the machine, artificial intelligence wisdom, to enhance your own wisdom and create new understandings. So you have to be very careful in using AI.
Auto component industry in India is the one which took the lead in terms of using TPS, TQM, etc., and seems to have benefited. The company's grown. I recall in late 1990s, the headline news in Economic Time was, "It is the end of the auto component industry in India," when Visteon came and all these companies came. And these all big multinational consulting companies made that statement. End of auto component, end of brick and mortar industry. auto component industry has surprised everybody. It competed well and done. Well, how do you really compare against similar companies in Europe, China, elsewhere? And you were talking about the company you acquired in Germany.
Yeah. So I mentioned about we acquired this company in Germany. So along with that, we got some other plants. They had one plant in US making same products that we make, supplying to US customers. And that plant was at such a location that we couldn't get skilled labor. And there were many problems, breakdowns and breakages and defects and all kind of problems. Actually, that operation became unviable. So we took a decision to close that operation completely, sell those facilities to somebody. But obviously, customers, we couldn't leave customers high and dry. So we went to the customers and we told them that we're going to stop this operation because it is not viable and we are having problems. We are not able to supply you in time, in quantity, and the quality that you need. So we are going to stop it, but we will supply you same thing from India. And the price will remain same. You don't have to, there is no change. Even if the material will come, the product will come all the way from India with the associated transport cost, etc. We will take care of that. You will continue to get the product at the same price that you are today getting. Only that the source will be India. They said, no problem. Of course, they had to do the the normal audit and PPAP and things like that. So we closed that shop. We moved all that production to India and started supplying to the American customers at the same price at which they were being sold earlier. And those products became some of our highest profit-making products. So that tells about both quality and cost as far as India is concerned.
That's right.
And we could do that because we own the technology. Don't forget that. So if you do not have technology and you just want to localize, you may have constraints. You will have constraints. You may have constraints of exporting to other countries from the technology provider. You may have constraints in modifying, tweaking, if the technology is coming from somewhere else, and so on and so forth. But if you own the technology, you have that unique advantage. And I would say that all this is thanks to what happened in late 80s, early 90s in India. Thanks to Sundaram Clayton, thanks to Dr. Kumar, thanks to the TQM movement that took place in India, and so many Deming Award winners in India and all that. And as you know, majority of these companies are auto component companies.
Yes.
And that is because they were driven by the OEM, like Maruti. So we are competitive, both quality, cost, delivery, technology, and we can compete with anybody. And that is because of the quality renaissance that took place, as you mentioned here in the 80s, 90s. And what companies like Sona have sincerely followed those steps and continued to take that path. Yeah, that's what I would like to say. We are able to compete in US for other products against Chinese suppliers.
Very good. So what happened in auto component industries? Why it didn't happen in other industries in India? Because we are still laggard in manufacturing. We came down to 15% from 20%. So what do you think with the difference?
It's the need. It's the need that people need to recognize. I think in auto component companies, they could not survive. They could not have survived if they had not taken the path of TQM. So leaders, visionary leaders, like Venu Srinivasan, like Dr. Kapoor, like many others, recognized that and took the path. Unfortunately, in other non-automotive field, there still is uh, that protection because of maybe duties, maybe because of type of customers we have, etc. Few companies have taken that challenge and done something extraordinary, but there you can just count them, the fingers.
What role do you think Dr. V. Krishnamurthy played in this?
Huge. I think if one person whom all of us in manufacturing should thank for this renaissance is Dr. V. Krishna. No question about it. He had a clarity of purpose. He was very articulate. I mean, you know him very well. And he actually drove quality movement in India. Think about Maruti. When it started, it was Maruti Udyog Limited.
Mhm.
Suzuki was just a small partner there. Maruti Udyog was a PSU, but it never felt like a PSU. And PSUs had a reputation,
Yeah.
except few. Many PSUs had a reputation of being lousy operations. But I, for example, like as a supplier to Maruti, I used to interact with everybody in Maruti from top to bottom. I never felt that I was talking to somebody in a PSU during those days. Later on, of course, Suzuki took higher shareholding, etc., etc. Today it's a Suzuki company. Even during those days when it was Maruti Udyog Limited, the company was like a Japanese. So all credit goes to Mr. Krishnamurthy, Dr. Krishnamurthy, and of course Mr. Bhargav.
I think many people seem to have forgotten Dr. V. Krishnamurthy in this. I would like to bring this back because he is the key driver in 1984.
Personally, I had fortune of listening to him. I don't remember now when and where, etc. But those early days, I had a fortune of listening to him in some forum, maybe ISQ or CI or somewhere, and I was so impressed with what he said. Still etched in my heart, what he said.
Actually, he did that in Bharat Heavy Electricals also earlier, and then later on in SAIL, he did great transformation. Of course, then Venu Srinivasan picked up the baton and continued in that spirit. Fortunate. And auto component industry itself followed well. Okay, you also were involved in this VLFM movement, visionary leadership through VLFM. Can you talk a little about this and what this movement was and how it contributed to?
So I met along with Dr. Kapoor, Professor Shiba in November 2003 when we were receiving our Deming Award. As you know, after the Deming Award, there is a workshop of the winning companies who share what difficulties they faced and what were the key success factors, etc. That workshop was steered by Professor Shiba. And later at the party, we met him, of course. And I had used his books before in teaching TQM in our company. His book that he has written along with, co-authored with David Walden, his 4 Revolutions in Management, that I had used. That's a Bible for TQM. So I knew him only from that. And after we met him, Dr. Kapoor was impressed and he said to me that we must get him to India. He was at that time in US. He was at MIT Sloan School teaching. And he had no inclination to come to India. And he definitely had no inclination of coming to India and consulting or advising a company. But Dr. Kapoor, being what he was, he kept on persisting. And finally, it was agreed that he will come to India, but not for any one company, but for a community of companies. So he asked Dr. Kapoor that you gather like-minded people and those companies I can help. So Dr. Kapoor gathered like-minded people. One of them was Mr. Arun Bharatnam, and there were others. And then first learning community was established in 2004. And we used to learn his breakthrough management techniques and many other tools and methods, etc. We visited. He took us to many breakthrough companies in Europe to visit and see. And then V. Krishnamurthy came in picture. Dr. Kapoor was on the National Manufacturing Competitiveness Council, and Dr. Krishnamurthy was the chairman. So Dr. Kapoor mentioned to him about Professor Shiba. So once there was a meeting at Dr. Kapoor's residence where Professor Shiba used to very often stay with Dr. Kapoor. There was a meeting with Dr. Krishnamurthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he arranged his meeting with Dr. Abdul Kalam.
Dr.
Abdul Kalam. And Professor Shiba met Dr. Abdul Kalam, and I think the meeting was scheduled for 30 minutes. It went on for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
They stuck so well. And Dr. Kalam told him that in India, there are 3 types of companies. One are big companies who got technology from outside and they're doing well. Second are medium kind of companies who don't have a technology, but they also have technology, part of technology from outside, part of technology developed in-house. And there's a large number of SMEs. Can you do something for SMEs? So Professor Shiba said that I can't push SMEs, I can only pull them. So I can do something for the customers of SMEs, which are the medium-sized companies, and they can then pull their suppliers. This was the birth of VLFM, Visionary Leaders for Manufacturing. At Sloan School, he was conducting a program, similar program by the name Visionary Leaders in Business or something. I don't remember exactly. Anyway, something similar program he was running in Sloan School, MIT. So on the same scale, this program was initiated. And academia was brought in. So I am Calcutta, IIT Kanpur, and IIT Madras. And government was there, Indian government and Japanese government, through JICA,
Mm-hmm.
and industry, which was CII. So all these agencies sat together and then they created this program. So there are many levels of these programs for CEOs, programs for middle managers, tomorrow's CEOs, programs for SMEs, etc., etc. So I was part of that learning community, which started in 2004. And I continued with Professor Shiba. So that's how I got drawn into VLFM. Now Professor Shiba is 92 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't anymore come to India. So we Indians try to continue that program in the same spirit.
Thank you. So, what is one myth about building a long-term manufacturing company that young founders must stop believing in?
I think one myth is that technology is the silver bullet. That you have a good technology, you can do very well.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is only a tool, only an enabler. You need the resilience and competencies of the people. So you need to develop people in such a way that the technology can be used. So the new age startups and founders want to quickly grow. You can develop a product, you can make a prototype, you can prove the prototype. But when you want to manufacture in thousands and millions consistently, then you require Deming's principle. Then you require Deming's principles.
Mhm.
You require to link variation with systems thinking, with knowledge of theory of knowledge and the human psychology. So all that is required, and unless you focus on those things, you can't. So don't consider technology as the only enabler. Don't consider as uh, some unique product that you have developed which brings real value. Fine, those are required. But to scale up, you require manufacturing know-how. I interact with many startups as a part of a thing that I do, whether it is in IIT Delhi or in I Create in Ahmedabad or elsewhere. And I have been helping many startups. And one of the challenges all of them face is scaling up. Somebody has got a great product, wonderful product. How do you scale up? That knowledge, that insight, unfortunately, is rare.
Like I see some organizations, their strategy is digitalization. And also, often I ask question, but what are you trying to, what's the purpose? But the purpose is not clear. And we have many digitalization projects going on without clear purpose. What do you think happens to such?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without purpose, without clarity of purpose, you can't do anything. Digitalization for the sake of digitalization, technology for the sake of technology, well, those are no go.
So why do you think so organizations have such kind of strategies?
Well, there is this hype, and if he is doing, I should also do, without understanding why he is doing,
Mhm.
why I should do or should not do. People want to say loudly that we are digitalized. We have digitalized our company without understanding the purpose.
Not a related question. Where do you think QC circle movement is headed in India?
Frankly, I am not in touch with companies at that level right now. So I don't know what is the current condition. But few companies I do know, they are very enthusiastically doing QC circles, evaluating people, evaluating the performance of QC circle, empowering them, training them. There are many companies who are doing, but I don't have the knowledge about the entire population. So
Okay.
few companies, of course, few companies that I have been interacting with are either they're on their Deming journey or TQM journey or already achieved certain level of excellence.
Okay.
They all have, because this is a foundation of uh, participatory management that comes from QC circle. There is no other way of getting it. You call it QC circle, you call it group Kaizen activity, like I mentioned about Sona. But the operator on the line, he knows the best. And I answered in my first question, your first question.
Right.
He is the one who brings value. He is the one who earns salary for all of us. And he is the one also who knows the best. So unless you involve him and empower him, involve him, you can't achieve breakthroughs.
Okay, I think we're coming to the second last question. Everyone wants scale. You talk about soul. How can modern companies scale without losing purpose?
So, Janak, scale without soul is hollow, and soul without scale is irrelevant.
Yes?
Irrelevant. So, it's not a question of which one of those, it is how you wave both of them together. You require both scale and soul. So, how do you do it? I think you need to, like I've been again and again saying this, you need to have a clarity of your purpose. It must be not just a vision, mission, but there must be very clear understanding across the organization why we exist, why are we there beyond money, beyond profit. What is the purpose of us? I think that clarity must be there. The second thing is non-negotiables. We scale. As we scale, many things will change. Customers will change, structures will change, supply chain will change. But there are certain things which must not change. And we must be clear as to what are the things that will not change. We used to very often question this to ourselves, that when we become 10x of what we are, what are those 3 or 4 or 5 things that will remain same? So that's very important. And thirdly, you need to embed soul into the processes. You can't depend on that the founder will continue to provide that support all along.
Mhm.
So you need to institutionalize, because this must become independent of individual. So if you do these 3 things, having clarity of purpose, having institutionalizing, implementing, embedding soul, and knowing what is unchanged, what is unchangeable. About these
Non-negotiable.
3, then I think you can wave both scale and soul.
So, Kiran, when your story is told 30 years from now, what part do you hope defines your legacy?
Difficult question. I think if somebody says that I changed myself because of him, I think I would have achieved something. All along, my approach was to build capability in people and make them ask questions, right questions, so that they know not just what and how, but why. And they become wiser. So therefore, as I said, if 2 people say that I contributed in some small way in shaping the way they have evolved as managers, I think that will be a happy moment for me.
Great. Let's hope many people listening to your podcast will probably get influenced, and some of them may turn around and say, "Okay, this is what makes the difference in my life."
I hope so.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Kiran.
you, Janak. Thank you.
Deeply appreciate your time and thought.
Thank you so much for doing this.